Hi all, in this video we're going to look at some more advanced features of formulas and basically look at the plotting capabilities that Excel has built into it. So if you're at this video, that means that you've probably looked at the Introduction to Excel video where we talked about basic layout and formulas. And so for example, in that video you would have learned how to create the following values, say -4, -3, and you would have figured out how to use the drag and drop feature of Excel, and then you would have figured out how to do a formula. For example, you're trying to type the formula f of x is equal to x squared, so you would have figured out how to do this, and then you would have figured out how to use the drag and drop feature of Excel to create a table of values for this function x squared. Okay, so that's what you would have learned in the previous videos. So in this video, we are going to now learn about how to use the plotting capabilities of Excel. And essentially what we're going to be using here, and this is the Mac version of Excel. If you can see up here, this is the ribbon, the options ribbon for Excel. There's the home ribbon, which gives you the opportunity to like change font and color and stuff like that. But there's also the charts, tab of the tool ribbon. Okay. And in this Charts tab, you can see that there's a variety of plotting options here, and the one that we are going to be concerned about is the scatter plot. Okay, the scatter plot will take, takes a table of x and y values and plots them as points. Okay, so what we're going to see here, how would we do something like this? So essentially, if you want to create a plot in Excel, you need to tell Excel which values you would like to plot, which XY values. So here you can highlight just using left click and holding the mouse down and then just moving the mouse over the region that you want. So I'm just going to drag holding the left click button until I highlight in blue all the values that I want. And then we'll go up here to the charts scatter plot, and you can see that we want to just plot our data points, so we want to do a marked scatter plot. Okay. And here we have, because I put titles on my x and y columns, we can now see that here it also titled this plot f of x is equal to x squared, and here are the plots of those data points. Okay, so you could click on this these values for example, and then right click, and you could I don't know what we could, well, let me just say this. If you want to change the different data type, different scatter plot, you can just re-click since your data is still, whoops, let's do the highlight again, do a scatter plot and connect them with dots, or connect the dots with lines. You now have two different plots, one where you just have the data and one where you have the plot where the dots are connected. And you can resize these plots to be a more convenient size if you wish, and then you can move them around in your Excel file. Okay, so there we have two plots, one where the lines are connected and one where they are not. Okay, and I think what's interesting here is you can see some different options that appear to you over here. You can see that just by clicking the plot, maybe you want the plots to be orange or gray. So you have some options here without redoing the plots or doing any right clicking or whatnot. And if you click on this plot, you can maybe change the dots to orange or gray or something like that. So you have some options just by clicking on the plot. There are also some quick layout. So notice if we click this and we have this gray plot, f of x is equal to x squared, just as a scatter plot highlighted. you can click these different options and then it'll give you different ways that you could present the data. So for example, here I like maybe that this view, because maybe your x-axis is the number, you could put number of widgets that you made or something like this, and this title could be the price. Whoops, I undid that with Command Z. Let's see. This axis, maybe it's the price per widget. Okay, so you could actually change your chart values. Okay, so that is pretty much the basic Excel command for plotting that we would want to use. We just want to input our data and then use the chart scatter plot option. Okay, so let me move these plots down here out of the way. Okay. And then let me show you, it's possible in a problem to have more than one plot on a graph. So why don't we look at that? Okay, let's say rather than my function f of x being x squared, maybe our function is an mx plus b, a linear function. So let's go and change this function to a linear function. And let's say that our linear function, is going to be, let me write it over here on the right here so you can see. So let's make a linear function. Let's make a linear function of the form, say 2x plus 5. Okay. So I know that I'm going to do 2 times, my x value is in the A2 position, plus 5. There's my new value, and I need to change all the values below it using drag and drop. And here is my, notice that my charts update. So now we have a plot of a linear function, and this could be the supply price function if you wish. And let's make a new function, g of x. Let's make it also a linear function, ax plus d. Okay, so I'm going to make a function g of x is equal to negative 3x plus 7. Okay, so let's put that function in now. It would be a formula, so I'm going to do equal sign. It would be negative 3 times the x value plus 7. Okay, and we'll use drag and drop to create some values here. Now notice that this plot didn't change because these plots were just for the function f of x. So let's delete this plot. And you could create a plot of x and g separately. So how do we tell Excel to plot the x and the g, or this x and this column of y values? So you could highlight just the x column, and you could hold down the command button or the little apple button or the command button, and you would just highlight these 2 columns. And now you can see that if I do a scatter plot, charts, where's my scatter plot? Sometimes if you look here, the window gets smaller, you lose some options, but if you click on this, you can now see that your scatter plot is available. So here's a scatter plot of the function g. Okay. So now you have, and you could change the plot options by doing this, and maybe here we have, you could fill in your titles. Again, x equals number of widgets. And you could fill in an appropriate title for the y-axis. Okay. And you could change the color to orange, for example. Okay, so an interesting question is, how do we get these 2 plots to be plotted together? Let's see if I remember how to do this. I would highlight the x. I would hold down the command or the apple button to highlight the y column, and then keep holding down the command button. I haven't let it go yet, so I'm still holding down the command button. and then I'll highlight the last column. So I've done one column drag. I held down the command button, drag this one, still holding down the command button, drag down this column. Okay. So, and now if I do a scatter plot, that's how we could get, these plots on the same set of axes. Okay. And it's this point that we've been talking about in class. It's this point that we're interested in finding. So for example, you could solve f of x equals g of x, or you could solve 2x plus 5 equal to negative 3x plus 7. You could set those equal to each other and solve for x. And if you did that, you would find that you would get 5x is equal to, what would that be, 2, which would imply that x would be 2/5. So x is equal to 2/5 is the value right here where those two lines intersect each other, and the plot would help you kind of determine whether or not your answer was correct. So that would be the end of this video with respect to just plotting. I think what we have learned in this video is that we are using the chart option. We are using scatterplot. And I think that even in scatterplot we had two different options. We were doing marked scatter or smooth marked scatter. So marked scatter. This is just dots, and smooth marked scatter was connected dots. Okay, and then we just played around with the options and we changed color, and we also put two plots together on the same set of axes. Okay, and the key there was to drag the x column. Okay, and then we needed to do two separate drags of the y columns, and the way you did that was holding the command or Apple symbol, and then to drag the columns, and then you did the scatter plotting option. Okay, so that would be it as far as plotting with the scatter plot command in Excel, and that would be the end of this video. In the next video, we'll talk about how to compute trend lines using Excel.